Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about current events, what's going on in the world, and kind of things that are important to think about. And we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Miss Good's situation with ICE and still what's going on with ICE. So it's been another one of those weeks where, as Chuck and I have said, you open up and read the news and you go, boy, I have lots of content for this coming weekend.
Well, I think the big one that came down yesterday is the Department of Justice is now has opened a criminal investigation into Tim Waltz and Jacob Frey, saying that they are part of a conspiracy to get in ICE's way and cause problems, and that they are somehow involved or the puppet masters behind all of the anti-ICE movement.
When didn't
I'll just let that
HHS
hang for a
announce?
minute.
HHS announced yesterday a new budget, which happens to be bigger than the FBI
Mhm.
and several other agencies combined. I think they're coming up second only to the Defense Department, right? So,
Mhm.
and I laugh sometimes at these kind of things because I think back when George Bush named Homeland Security as our new name for the what used to be what was the fifth? What was it?
Well, he put a bunch together.
Yeah,
They're the
but when we
over
adopted the term Homeland,
right.
there's a legacy to that term that
Yes.
goes back to a certain country in Europe that, just sort of didn't like a certain religious type of people, AKA Hitler's Nazis. They called everything the homeland, right? Everything was
Mhm.
done for the homeland. And it was a little disturbing to me when that started because that was one of those really don't need to call us the homeland. We are a country. We are not, and for many of us know our histories are not from here. So we are not truly in our homeland, right? So you can't call it. But this homeland security thing and what's going on there with ICE continues to boil up, not up. I don't think it's going away. There's been a lot of violence this week. There has been a tremendous amount of true AI slop coming out,
No
trying to
doubt.
show other things that happened in regards to Mrs. Good. And we continue to vilify the victim
Mhm.
and victimize the vilified, right? We have made sure that she's an agitator, she's a terrorist.
Well, that's the thing. That's what bothered me the most. She couldn't just be, and I'm not saying she was, okay, so bear with me, but she couldn't just be wrong. She had to be a terrorist, and she had to be a felon, and all of these things. Like Kristi Noem within like 20 minutes said she was a domestic terrorist, and it's like if you felt that she was wrong and that she was trying to hit the officer, is that not enough? Like, I don't believe she was. I've seen the video. It doesn't look that way to me, but I'm not an investigator. I can only go with what my eyes tell me. But it can't just, it's that double down effect. It can't just be she was trying to hit an officer and that's wrong. It was she's a domestic terrorist and part of a cell and all these things. And it's like, how do you know? First of all, how do you know that after 20 minutes? I don't believe anybody knew anything after 20
It's
minutes.
terrible though how the story came out with that though, and it's like how fast we react with just snippets of information,
Mhm.
and it's a little scary, especially if we continue on with those thought processes, because it's not going to change. AI is going to be part of our lives, and for you can just you can change what we're seeing, and we're going to believe it because we see it. It's the stories have changed only a little bit, but I mean, like, since, from the moment that we saw it and everybody was on the same page to I hear you what you're saying, it's like she can't be just wrong. It's like there's gotta be more things, which is ridiculous in itself, but,
Well,
it's scary.
Well, and Jim and I talk a lot about these things on air and off air, if you will. And I am, and it's a fault, but I am unbelievably logical. Like my brain goes logical every time. I have emotions, but they tend to be secondary to when I'm looking at a situation. And it's probably because I was a teacher of at-risk kids for so many years, I had to like pull the emotions back. But my whole thing was when all of this went down, the first thing I did was I found, and it's out, it's true, it's real, it's not fake, it's been there. I think it was in 2018 or 2019, the DOJ redid the rules and regulations for federal officers on firing on cars, and you cannot fire on a car. It specifically says that you cannot fire on a car, a moving car. You can't fire in a car unless you literally have no other option. Even then, it's very specific. So what I mean is if you were against a wall and a car was coming at you, you had nowhere to go, then yes, I think you can. But he literally stepped out of the way. So beyond what you think of her, what you think of him, he was wrong. He went against his own policy. And I'm not damning him. I'm not saying he needs to be brought up in charge. I'm not saying any of those things. That's not for me to say. I'm just saying when it first came out, I'm like, why are they vilifying her when first and foremost, he went against their own policy?